Hello everyone, welcome to the third day of this 4-day hike we're doing around Cradle Mountain and walls of Jerusalem. We just left Kia Ora Hut maybe 5 minutes ago, and today we're going to be heading over to, through the Never Never basically. We're going to head to D'Alton and Fergusson Falls first up and try and get down to Boulder and Cathedral Falls just downstream of there. Then we'll head over to Hartnett Falls, and then pretty much it's just a 10k hike upstream through the Never Never to Junction Lake, where we'll be staying tonight. So it's about 15 or 16 k's in total. Obviously we're on the Overland Track, so it's pretty easy at the moment, but it will get harder further on, so I'll see you a bit further along. Some nice views in the early sections of the walk out toward, I think that's Mount Girion or Mount Massive, and Cathedral Mountain's just through there as well. Not too far from the hut, I don't think, and then we're about 20 minutes from the waterfalls. So we've hit the first detour for today, down to D'Alton and Fergusson Falls. It's meant to be about 1 kilometre each way. We'll follow this track down, and then there'll be 2 tracks that branch off to either waterfall, and I'll also be doing a bit more exploring down to some waterfalls further downstream of D'Alton Falls. We descend a fair ways in this short distance. It's an easy enough track, but it's steep as well. See you down there. Another fork in the road after about 7 minutes down the track. We'll go to D'Alton Falls first, and that's only a few minutes walk further down this way. We're at D'Alton Falls now. It's a really nice spot. About a 15 metre or so drop into a really shadowy gorge down there. Nice bit of water coming over even in summer. I'm now going to try and explore further downstream and try and get a view of Boulder and Cathedral Falls. But I might just hang it here for a few minutes because it's pretty nice. So I've been skirting the edge of this very steep gorge since D'Alton Falls. As you can see, there's actually a little bit of a trail that sort of follows along the edge here. I don't want to film too much because it is very steep and I don't want to slip. But hopefully I'll be able to get a view of the waterfall, though I'm not super confident given how far above the river I am here. So I've reached a vantage point where I can see Cathedral Falls through the trees. I'll give you a look just across here. Might not show up too well on this camera, but it looks like it's actually a pretty long drop because the top of it's roughly even with my line of sight and the bottom is a fair ways down there. However, I have not been able to see any real sign of Boulder Falls, which are meant to be basically right there. There was like a bit of a cascade that I got a very partial view of, so I can only assume that was Boulder Falls, and that was just a little ways further upstream, so I'll see if I can find a better view of that, but it doesn't look like Boulder Falls is much of a waterfall. And it's a shame that you can't get a better view because Cathedral Falls looks spectacular. So I'm filming on my phone because the camera wouldn't show this up. But I believe I'm looking at Boulder Falls now. I'm only just a little ways further back. I may be able to scramble lower down, I think, actually. But yeah, it doesn't look like a big waterfall by any stretch. It doesn't look more than 5 or 6 metres high, so I won't do anything too silly to try and get a better view. But I reckon if I loop around that way, I may be able to get closer to the river. So we'll see how we go. Okay, well this is going to be the best view I'll get of Boulder Falls. It really doesn't appear to be much more than a rocky cascade. I mean, it's certainly got to be Boulder Falls because there's a huge boulder wedged in the middle of the river and another one right there. So it's actually quite an impressive gorge sort of thing. But as a waterfall, it's really not much to write home about. It was a bit dicey even to get to this point. I've had to scramble down that slope, which looks a bit tamer now than it actually was to get down. But yeah, it's, to be honest, not a very, bit of an underwhelming excursion. Cathedral Falls was obstructed and Boulder Falls was also obstructed, and wouldn't matter much if it wasn't either. So I will see you up at Ferguson Falls, I reckon, or back at the turnoff maybe. Back at the junction, and we'll head off to Ferguson Falls, which is just a few minutes off this way. Okay, so we're at Ferguson Falls now. It's slightly smaller than Dalton, I reckon, but still maybe a 13-metre drop. It's pretty impressive though. The light's not great, so photography is a bit difficult, but I've done what I could. The boulders around here are really impressive. It's a bit of a scramble to get down to this point from the track, because the track actually ended up in a pretty side-on vantage point, but it was worth the effort for sure. So we're on the trail down to Hartnett Falls now, which I think is about 700 metres to the top of the falls or so, and then a little bit more down to the bottom. We're carrying our packs with us. Most people will drop them at the turnoff up there, because once we get to the top of Hartnett Falls, or get back to it after going to the bottom, we'll be heading upstream through the Never Never from there. Hopefully the scrub isn't too bad, but I don't really know what it will be like. At any rate, it's a nice sunny day again, very clear and quite warm. Well, I'm at the base of the impressive Hartnett Falls, at 20 to 25 metres high. In full flow it spans that entire cliff there, which it was like when I first came about a year and a half ago, but it's still very impressive in summer. And the gorge that it falls into is also pretty amazing. At the top of Hartnett Falls now, and here we go into the Never Never. So we haven't been going very far up the Never Never, and we just bumped into some people across the river who said that we have to be hiking on the other side. So that's the left side of looking at from Hartnett Falls. It's an easy enough crossing point here, given the low river. Here's one of the nicer sections of the walk. There's been a bit of like kind of horizontal scrub to push through, which hasn't been the nicest, but probably mostly it's been kind of just along this mossy stuff by the creek, and not horrifically hard. Nice views up to some mountain, which I'm not quite sure of what its name is. It's a little more open through here, although there's a lot of fallen trees, so we've had to be scrambling over and under, which isn't the most pleasant. Here's some more. At a small waterfall now, not far from McCoy Falls, so we're nearly at the halfway point. It's been an extremely thick scrub the last little while. Hopefully it'll lighten up as we keep going, but it hasn't been much fun. I'll probably see you at McCoy Falls. It's been a pretty torrid hike. We've made it to McCoy Falls finally. We ended up crossing over the creek below that other waterfall, and it's been quite a bit easier to get to this point, but unfortunately I let some moisture into my camera lens, so it's a bit screwed, so I can't take any photos, which kind of sucks. But it's a nice spot, although I'd probably enjoy it more if I wasn't so exhausted from a bit of a shocker of a hike. Well, about 50 to 100 metres upstream of McCoy Falls, probably about 100 actually, we crossed back over again. And I think it should be much more open on this side now, at least on the other side. That was becoming really horrible scrub. There's at least kind of forest. I'm hoping the worst of it's behind us, but I've been wrong about a few predictions so far. Well, for the last little while we've actually been following along what looks to be some sort of track through these plains. bit easier at the moment at least, but yeah, hopefully it stays like this and doesn't go back to the crap it was like before. Some nice views of the range just there. Just filming on a phone so it'll actually show up, but up there is Feather Falls, and when it's flowing it sort of flows around that big cliff there through those two shadows. The creek was just barely trickling and the fall looks all but dry. It's definitely been clearer of late, with the exception of one bit of scrub, but yeah, hopefully we're not too far away from the end of the Never Never. So we just about made it to Junction Lake, but unfortunately I'm backtracking now because I overshot Clark Falls. I'm actually not really sure where the turn-off was meant to be to it. There are a couple of potential options, so I'm going to have to go back now and hopefully find my way down to the bottom. But we're definitely above it now because, as you can see, there's certainly no 25-metre waterfall there. Anyway, I just got to concentrate and find this track. Well, I've made it to the last of the waterfalls on the Mersey River, Clark Falls. I don't really know what I did wrong, to be honest, because every time I've seen a trip report from this region, they've always made it to Clark Falls, yet I couldn't really see an obvious detour off the main track. It wasn't horrifically difficult getting here, certainly nothing compared to what we've already been through today. And it's a very nice waterfall, about a 15-metre drop. So we're currently on our way around Junction Lake, which is a very picturesque lake, though the track's not brilliant. It should become better further on. We can actually see the hut in the distance. I'm not sure how well the camera will pick it up, but it's pretty much right there. So we shouldn't be more than 5 or 10 minutes away now, and I really hope it's a nice hut. So we finally arrived at Junction Hut after a bit of a wild goose chase where I lost the track for a short distance. This has been an extremely tough day of hiking. The Never Never is probably not a route I'd really recommend. It's extremely tough. It got a bit easier towards the end when it opened onto some more plains, and then there was another section of fairly tough scruff bashing and whatever towards the end. So yeah, look, probably a route I would not recommend doing more than once because I'm not planning on going back there anytime soon. But tomorrow's our last day and we've got about 10 k's of hiking, so I'll see you then.